is how do you transition into a regulated profession? How did she, one, locate a school? Which school did she go to? What program did she do? And how was the process in terms of applying for the school thing, then applying for your visa, then tacking on your little daughter's application on the visa? A lot of things, moving parts. Kudos to you, by the way, for getting it all done on your own, having faced no rejections or anything like that. But we'll find out if there were any hurdles or challenges along the way. Okay, we are back with Khadidra from the Bahamas. Okay, from the Bahamas, who migrated here in 2021. She went through the whole process on her own, and she came here having been a nurse who was working unlicensed and everything in her country, and she migrated into Canada, which has always been something that was of interest to me, is how do you transition into a regulated profession. So we're going to get into that later, don't worry. But we're trying to pick up the story now is, so one, how did you identify what school you're going to go to? What school did you go to anyways? How did you identify the school and what program did you do?
Okay, so to narrow down my search of schools, I had to kind of figure out where it was that I would be coming in Canada. So when we came initially, we were staying with family. So based on their location, I searched for schools within the area. So the school that I ended up going to was actually in London, Ontario, and it's Fanshawe College. So what I did, in order to find the program, I kind of just went and I searched. But I had to be careful and make sure that I was searching as an international student, because not all programs are offered to international students. So once I did that, I wanted really something to align with my nursing degree, or something that would kind of complement my bachelor's of science already.
Good idea.
So, so what I found was it was a gerontology program. It was a post-grad program, meaning you had to already have a degree. So it fed off of my bachelor's of science degree. And I looked at the requirements, the fees. The fees were a little hefty, as we know.
Turned down for what?
Yeah, like, oh man. But apart from that, kind of looked at what requirements and stuff that they needed. And it wasn't a lot of requirements. They just needed proof of my bachelor's of science, so like some transcripts and stuff from university. And they also required English test, but because the Bahamas is an English-speaking country, they kind of waived the English portion of it. So I applied, and shortly after, I got an acceptance letter. And once I got the acceptance letter, then I was good to apply for the study permit. So I have the dates here. Forgive me for looking down, but just want to give you guys an accurate timeline of what the process looked like for me. So for the study permit, I applied for my study permit on September 7th of 2020.
And this is post-COVID, so these are post-COVID timelines.
And they send the biometrics instruction letter one day after, on September 8th, 2020.
Oh, interesting.
So it was pretty quick for the biometrics instruction letter. Now, in terms of hurdles, one hurdle that I can mention here is that we do not have any biometrics collection center in the Bahamas.
I think I know this.
Yes. So that would mean me having to travel. When I researched it, they were saying that the closest one would either be in Jamaica or Florida.
Really?
Yes. So I opted to go to Florida because Florida, if you know, is pretty close to the Bahamas. It's maybe like a 45-minute, if that, plane ride from the Bahamas to Florida. And in terms of plane ticket expense, that one was more affordable at the time. So I went to Florida, but I didn't go right away. So I got the instructions letter on September 8th. And I didn't go until November 16th to Florida to give my biometrics, because of course I had to like book off time from work and do all of that
And this is during COVID.
Yes.
Travel is like weird.
Had to have COVID testings to get to the US and to get back home, and all of that had to be factored in.
Yes.
I got my approval in principle, because it's when they were still doing the approval in principle. So I got that on October 8th of 2020.
Okay.
And after I gave my biometrics in the US, I didn't require medical, because the Bahamas is one of the countries that I guess are medically exempt in terms of the student visa. So I didn't have to worry about that.
Okay.
And on November 24th is when I got my approval and the point of entry introduction letter.
Interesting. So not having done the biometrics when they told you to do it didn't hold up the application.
No.
So that's good to know. And even though you did it in November 18th, you still got like approval like a few days after.
Yes.
Which is cool. What made, I guess you said like you had to take time off of work and all that stuff to travel, but did you like verify with them, or did they put anything on the letter saying must do it by this date or anything like that? Do you remember?
Not that I can remember, to be quite honest. And then the other issue that I was having was because it was COVID, the actual appointments to give the biometrics were a little bit limited.
Yeah.
So when I got the instructions letter and when I went on the website to try to book the appointment, in terms of getting the time off from work and the availabilities that they had, the appointment in November was the most feasible for me at the time.
Makes sense. Well, I'm glad that there was that allowance. And imagine you have to go to another country just to give you fingerprints. That's kind of crazy. I think Bahamas doesn't even have an English test center either.
No,
you would have to go somewhere else.
Yes. No else.
Okay. So that is the immigration hurdles just based on country could be different, right? So she didn't have to do a medical. I don't think Jamaicans have to do a medical. I don't remember having to do a medical for my student study permit. But then to do her biometrics, she has to go to another country to do English test. If they required it, you'd have to go to another country. So always check your local country requirements, right? And I tell somebody, like, I don't like to put, here is the application process, because it is specific to a country. Okay, so always check your local requirements. Okay, so that was that process there. Okay, continue. Sorry.
And so after I got the approval, which was November 24, 2020, now like I had some big girl work to do.
Yeah.
So I had to go to work. Yeah, like okay, this happening.
Yeah.
So okay, had to figure out like about work and stuff like that, adequate time to be professional and respectful on the job in terms of like handing in the resignation letter within the appropriate time, trying to pack up my Georgie bundle, trying to figure out like what it is that I need, because remember it was the heart of winter, like January, in the thick of it.
Yes.
So like trying to figure out like, okay, winter clothes, what you do, is it easier to get them and then bring them over? Is it easy to ship them to Canada? Like I didn't even know where to start, Christina.
Plus you had a little 3-year-old.
Exactly.
I can't imagine. I can kind of, but not fully. It's different when you're going, well, I guess you were going to family, so that was kind of helpful, right? Because you know that you're not going to kind of figure it out there. You're kind of going, somebody going to pick you up and all that stuff. So that's good. Yeah. Okay, so then you had to do all that stuff. You had to give in your resignation, and then it was real, and then you got to Canada in January, like me. You did a winter. Had you ever? Oh yeah, you had already visited Canada.
Yes,
but in the winter.
Time before, no, it was summer. Totally different ball game.
How was that for you, and how was that for Aja?
Chilly. So cool. Like nothing I could have ever imagined.
Yes.
All around Caribbean girl coming from the summer heat year round in the Bahamas to minus how much degree? It was definitely something I had to get used to.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really much to go, because a lot of places were still like on lockdown in terms of like going out. So we weren't too out and about. But definitely when I came outside, I felt it. So I bundled up layers and layers and layers. And then, of course, with the baby, her only being 3, I put on 3 pants. I put on this, I put on that, because I didn't want her to get sick coming from such a warm climate, But she loved it. She transitioned pretty well. Yeah. It could be minus 1,000 degrees outside, and she would still want to go outside and play in the snow. So it was good. And it was our first time, her first time experiencing snow.
Yes.
So although it was cold and stuff, it was definitely a nice experience for her. And she loves the snow, even up to today. Oh man.
Perfect. That's good. That's good. So, were there any hiccups that you faced along the way in terms of your applications, apart from having to travel somewhere else? Were there any other challenges that you encountered along the way that you'd say are noteworthy?
No, honestly, none that I can think of. No, refusals or anything in that aspect. So outside of the traveling, it was pretty smooth sailing, honestly.
Good. Good.
Honestly.
That's good. That's good. And that was the application process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was very smooth sailing for you. Having done it on your own, again, kudos to you. And having come here with Aja, thank God you had family to receive you. At what point did your mom join you? Did she join you, or did she just been recently visiting?
So we came in January
Oh, she came
2021.
with you?
No, she didn't come.
Okay.
And shortly after we came, the borders, I don't know if you remember, it was, I think, the second wave officially, and they locked down the borders again.
Mm-hmm.
So she was unable to come. So they didn't open back up the borders for travel, I think, until summertime of 2021.
Yes.
So she actually didn't come until August 2021.
Yeah.
So, yeah, roughly 8 months or so, it was just Aja and I.
Yeah.
And she came after.
Yes, I remember that because I was actually in Jamaica and I wanted my mom to come back with me. And because of that, I was like, nope, not coming back. When they open the borders to everybody, then I'll come back.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So then we're going to pivot into nursing. One, why did you become a nurse? How did you become a nurse in Canada? And how long did it take you to become a nurse? That's cliffhanger right here as we break, and you are going to watch that in the next episode, which will come out next week Sunday, depending on when you're watching it. If you're watching it, the other episode may be out, so check on the playlist, which will pop up on the screen somewhere on the screen, probably right here. And follow along with Khadidra's story of coming from the Bahamas as a nurse to Canada. Please stick around, subscribe, and like this video if it was helpful to you. We will be providing you with more helpful tips on Canadian immigration, how to move to Canada, how to succeed in Canada, and life in Canada, because it's important to understand what's going on over here. You hear say it was chilly? It wasn't chilly, it was cold. Cold, bad. All right, so stay tuned. We will see you in the next video.